Howdy, it's Matt from jaggersbrewingco. I'd like to thank you for stopping in, checking in on us, and seeing what today's project is. Speaking of today's project, it's Dunkel Bock. So with the Dunkel Bock here, this was a fun project. My local homebrew club, they like to pair people up once a year for a year's worth of brewing, and there was a few things that we got to brew this year, most of them being German lagers. So it's gonna be pretty fun to kind of figure some of that out. Now, having said that, I've already constructed a lagering device and cool fermentation device, and I had already previously brewed a Marzen. I need to wrap up that video for presentation, but I was really excited about this Dunkel Bock here. I applied the lessons that I learned during the Marzen directly into this. They weren't necessarily back to back, but they were fairly close enough that some of the things stayed in my memory. Having said that, this brew was pretty challenging. So it was a rough brew day. We had a stuck mash, we had a stuck sparge. We decided to go ahead and try to do some step mashing too. We missed our temperatures. We ended up missing our gravity, our starting gravity. And so we boiled just a little bit longer to kind of make up those few points that we were missing. It wasn't much, but it was one of those things like, to be to style, to turn in, to win some points in a competition and stuff that, you know, is just nothing but really bragging rights internally in our deal. There wasn't any really medal, so to speak of. You know, we wanted to go ahead and just try to get as close as possible. So we extended that boil. After that, I no-chilled it. I know that's going against the grain for the style. So with the extended boil, we had 2 decoctions on it. So it was just a long brew day. In my opinion, after turning this beer in and hearing what other people thought about it, I really like this beer. Quite a few people did too. Granted, there was a lot of doppelbocks going up against each other, so it was probably a tough call at the end of the day to who had the best one as far as the standout stuff goes. I think one of the biggest criticisms of this one was that it finished a little too thin. Both my brew partner and I picked up on it, and the head judge also picked up on it. But even though that like it finished a little thin, I still really like it. I think it drinks pretty decently. And that's the problem with lagering and doing things to style as far as that goes, is it takes you a long time to find out that you did something wrong or you did something right. With the lagering contraption that I made, I didn't see any faults at all as we were checking through our temperature uptick. Now, like I said, we applied the same lessons that we learned through the Marzen to this thing, and I think it turned out pretty well. Fairly dark beer. Could have used maybe a little bit more carbonation, a little bit more head retention for it. Now this is bottled conditioned beer. I kind of regret that it is a bottled conditioned beer. I would have liked to have kegged this one, but we were kind of in the process of getting the keezer operational and dealing with that whole mess that transpired for that, and I just didn't have the room or the space to do it. So I used my cool fermentation vessel and that setup to ferment it and lager it. When I went to go bottle it, it had this kind of weird taste to it. And we kind of tasted like it was like that apple ester. Now I'm not picking up on it anymore here. And like I said, it does finish a little on the thin side. It does have kind of more of the pronounced fruitier end of the style for the Doppelsbock. It seems like most people kind of prefer more of the roasty side. Kind of like maybe more of like the Doppel type Bock and stuff like that. This, like I said, it kind of finished a little bit more towards the sweeter, fruitier side, which in my opinion, I'd rather have anyways. Unless it's a sour, but that's a whole different story. All in all, I'm really happy with this one. My brew partner, he's fairly happy with it. He's more of a German lager fan, where I'm not opposed to them, but I kind of more prefer, you know, like the Belgian type stuff nowadays, and you know, the sours and pretty much everything but a German lager. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's just I think there's a lot out there, and I have my preferences, and that's fine. But so there is some room for improvement for this beer for sure. I think I will rebrew it at some point in time, schedule permitting. It's probably going to be a while until I can make it back to this one. You know, I think part of the reasons why we had a lower starting gravity between the stuck mash and the stuck sparge was for like the third time I'd used that like converted Home Depot type water cooler for a mash tun, and for the second time I had used a recirculation pump on that. This was the first time that I had a sparge arm for that whole setup. So like we kind of keep adding a little bit more and more complications to this setup, and really it's just going to come down to fine tuning that system, find out where I'm missing on it, find out what other components or technique that I need to use on that to really hone in that whole deal. I don't know how much points we lost for the starting gravity, you know, post boil, pre-boil, whatever, with the step mash temperatures coming up a little short. Granted, you know, we weren't like 10 or 20 degrees short. You know, I think we were anywhere sometimes between 8 and 5 degrees short of reaching those temperatures. So we still had those enzymes working for us, converting, you know, all those sugars and stuff like that. Was it at the correct ratio? I'm gonna say probably not if we missed it by a large enough value that we had to boil off a little bit longer to meet that starting gravity threshold. after it was all said and done, I don't think that we really missed that much by volume though, because if I remember correctly, I think after fermentation and everything was set to go, I think I was probably about a 6-pack short of a 2 cases. So, you know, what an extra, I think it was an extra 15 minutes worth of boiling. So it wasn't that bad. It could have been worse. Like I said, I'm gonna give this thing another shot, solo. I know I used some unconventional malts with going and doing that double decoction, but I wanted to make sure that we gained those melanoiden or the melanoiden type tastes that are supposed to go along with this style. It's not a bad beer. I really like it. I've been drinking it. I've been sharing it. A lot of people really like it. There are some better ones out there right now than mine currently. But at the end of the day, I'm happy with it. It was a solid effort, I feel like. I feel like I did learn some stuff, and I think that I really need to dial in some of those procedures and my equipment, especially when it's equipment that I don't use every day in my brewing process. And so I need to really buckle down and tackle that to improve on styles that, one, I'm unfamiliar with, two, maybe I don't necessarily appreciate as much as I do other styles, or that I should for that matter. So take a look at that recipe. Let me know what you think on it. I've had it reviewed by a few people, one of them being a professional brewer that had a Doppelbock that hit the tap about the time that I turned this in, and when I went to go turn ours in at the same place that that beer was on tap, I went and had his, and I was like, holy crap, these things are two different things. But after talking to him, he was like, look, you know, there's two sides to every coin. Yeah, yours is still a Doppel, yours just finished differently than mine did, and there's different trains of thought on that, and it's okay. So made me feel really good about this beer, and being able to share it with you guys. Until next time, thanks for stopping in. Cheers. So this is editing Matt, and after going back and starting to edit this video, I realized that I in fact do not hate this beer. And in addition to, as much as I beat it up and kind of bashed it a little bit, that I wanted to point out, after I filmed that video and as I've started to edit it out, I've gotten back some score sheets on some competitions on this beer, the Dunkel. And I just wanted to reiterate that it actually is coming back pretty decent score-wise, and it in fact got a mini best of show on a competition or two, so that's exciting. So just wanted to reiterate that this is in fact a fairly decent beer. I'm still happy with it. I stand behind that when I said that in the video. But additionally, apparently I had Doppelbock on my mind a lot, because we had a Doppel coming up, and during this video I had my mind set on that and that recipe and the procedures and stuff that we were going to do for that. So cheers to the Dunkel. Still happy with it. Still a very nice, clean looking beer. Still smells good. Still tastes good. Still needs a little more carbonation and head retention, but other than that, cheers. This is editing Matt. I in fact do not hate every beer that I brew.
Your crotch is out of the shot, sir.
That'll get you demonetized real quick.
But you know, we kind of did some things that were necessarily kind of not necessary. We did some things that weren't necessarily to style and hoping to bring it to style. No.
And I don't hate everything that I make, even though it sounds like it.
Put that in your video. I was like, I will. He's like, no, you won't. I was like, I was drunk and went down a slide holding a chicken. And that went in the video. Also, a wooden eagle, but